There you go. We got some theme music. And it's not any good sports show theme music, especially if you feature a cat as your mascot without the little growl sound effect in there somewhere too. Shouts to my dude finding that for us to find it there. Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game of the Jaguar Report of SI. Honor, joy, and privilege to bring in another edition of the Duval Dive, now complete with theme music. And if you have any ideas for little video submissions, 20 seconds or so, that'd be great. And maybe Drew Willingham will get inspired, or maybe I'll find something. Who knows? But that's what's next. We're a growing show, Travis Holmes. Welcome in.
Hey, man, I love it, man. We're becoming a big, a big time production. What can I say? This is awesome.
Listen, anytime you can bring in 1999 theme music, it makes it full circle. I'm just glad we don't do a Dolphin show because I hate that song. Yeah. Anyways, man, listen. Let's get into it. First of all, you gotta take the good with the bad with last week's performance against the Chiefs. Both of us were wildly incorrect in some ways, and both of us were spot the bleep on in others. Travis, I did not see the under hitting so big in this game. I'll lead with that. Let me put it this way to you. Obviously, the Jags lose to the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs 17-9. What are you more surprised by, holding Patrick Mahomes the second to 17, or 9 points of offense from the Jaguars?
I mean, you got to say the 9 points to the offense, and only because the Chiefs, while they historically have actually played better on the road, I don't think any reasonable fan, whether you're a fanatic of the, for the Jags, or whether you're just some, a national writer or whoever else, I don't think anyone thought that the Jaguars offense would come out being that problematic as far as the red zone, as far as the money downs, as far as all of those things. And that really just destroyed, like, we literally could have been, in the low 30s to high 20s, realistically, in that game, just being better in the red zone. And that stinks. That's a hard thing to chew on in a loss.
You mentioned all the writers and the personalities. Somebody else who agreed with you about the struggles in the red zones being basically unacceptable, especially the 0 for 4 portion on the one particular drive, was one Trevor Lawrence. He thought that was probably the most, I'll use the word frustrating on his behalf, I'll say, but a word I heard permeate throughout the post game from players and Coach Peterson in particular alike was pissed off. They were not happy coming in with such awful offense, and rightly so. I mean, in fairness, a little bit of toe drag swag from Zay Jones, away from scoring twice. Trevor missed a wide open. Also, I think it was Zay Jones. Calvin Ridley beelining right for the goalpost. Everyone took a sigh of relief, when he got up okay from that. That looked rough. Thank God they put pads on the pole, man. Holy crap. Just exchange all the way around. What do you think went wrong in the red zone for the offense there, Travis?
Well, it was a mixture of a few things. I mean, you obviously have the first and you have the first and goal on the 1 yard line, and we now know, even though everyone was angry at Press Taylor for not calling that a run play, apparently he did call a run play on that, and Trevor called his own play a lot like he did against the Titans in 2022. He pulled it.
Right there, real quick too. Something fans do that generally annoys me is they shout, "Oh, the play calling was bad." You do realize that if Zay Jones toe drag swags, that's one touchdown over there, they get 4 points. You do realize if they finish that drive, the one in question where Trevor calls his old number in a play that was just swallowed, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a second touchdown.
Now all of a sudden we got free football. It's an overtime.
And then you have the Ridley play with the overthrow that happened on the same drive also. That's literally 3 different drives that we're talking touchdowns instead of field goals on 2 of them. But
the punchline is the play calling had opportunities on the field that just weren't done. people hate execution being used regularly by players after games as if it's coach speak. Travis, here it's true. And listen, I'm not necessarily a Press Taylor guy. I'm not anti or for really yet. I'm still kind of drinking him in, as you will, and what he does is running the offense. But from where I'm sitting right now, I can't put this on him. I can't do it. Execution was the thing here.
No, fully agree, fully understand. No, you can't. He hasn't shown any, issues as far as any significant opportunities that we can objectively say, hey man, this is Press's fault. He should have done this versus that we haven't later found out. No, that worked. That was right. Or that was wide open, or et cetera, et cetera. Like, and we've shown it again, the 4th down play with the 4th and 5 play. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I'm saying this like everyone knows. There was a 4th and 5 play in the game around the 50-yard line, and where many people before the half, I believe it was less than 3 minutes left before the halftime, and we went for it. Jaguars went for it and didn't get it. And many people said, you should have kicked it. You should have given it back to Kansas City deep in their own territory and made them drive the whole length of the field. Fair, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is a team that's consistently going for it on 4th downs in aggressive situations. I'm not going to blame them for that. However, the play call worked. The play call worked. Kirk was open coming out of his break. We've seen that stick route, I don't even know how many times, tens of times since he's been here. And that is a bread and butter play. And Trevor simply doesn't throw it because he, out of his peripheral vision, sees Chris Jones. And I'm assuming that's what made him, just not let it go as soon as his 3rd foot hits the back of his drop back. And it's really unfortunate. But again, the play call worked. The execution didn't.
And I'll see that and raise you this, that very same exchange. Oh, you should have punted it. Travis Holmes, if I knew your middle name, might have dropped it there. Travis Holmes, I wrote about this on the Jaguar report this past week about this game and the missed opportunities that this game represented. It's funny. There were missed opportunities that made this game a missed opportunity to get a win in the AFC. Granted, at least last week, they got a division win. They still have plenty of gain out of that, and this is why this upcoming Sunday is a big deal. Also, an AFC South win opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like the Lions where it's awesome you beat the defending champs, but then the next week you take a conference loss, okay? Right. So there's that.
Right.
But with the Jags, they had the opportunity to get a conference win to in the case of a tiebreak later in the year, which could very well happen if things go as well as you or John Shipley of Jaguar Report or Peter King think with 13 wins. It could come down to that for who's top seed, and now you just lost the tiebreak, right? Bingo. But say all that to say that 4th and 5, I like the call personally. Didn't go the right way. They had Patrick Lavon Mahomes II and company at 2nd and 22. And they gave up 20 yards to set up 4th and 2, which emboldened the Chiefs to score. That is execution. Okay.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the few, what I would call, I guess, disagreeable, bad. I don't want to say bad because that sucks, but it was one of the few questionable, schematically. One of my personal, I didn't like it. That was one of the few coverages that I didn't like, them playing soft because it was a long. 2nd and long, and you just know this is a team that's going to go for it when you get down to those 4th and 5, 4th and 4s, things of that nature. You can't give up 20 yards, man. That's just, that hurt. As soon as it happened, I'm like, there's no way they don't go for this on 4th down.
Yeah, if it's 4th and 7, that touchdown doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And
there's so many what ifs, man.
With 2 touchdowns in the game, Travis, back-to-back drives, right? One by Kansas City to close the half, and the double up after the field goal by the Jags to start the offensive action for the Chiefs. And I believe that one was to Travis Michael Kelce. 4 catches for 26 yards and a touchdown. Listen, we said 6 for 80 something and a touchdown was a win. The defense did a great job overall with that. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about 2 elements on defense for both teams that were definitely fun to watch. First of all, let's you and I take our bows for trying to tell people Chris Jones was going to be a problem, and indeed he was. Listen, poor Anton Harrison, right? What a tough pair of assignments. At some point, you're dealing with DeForest Buckner and then Chris Jones. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the worst part about it is, interestingly enough, he didn't have to deal as much with DeForest Buckner in week one, because that was the interior of the offensive line who had to take on that monster, and it was a mess because you coming into the game, there wasn't a standard as far as, hey, we know for sure that they're going to put Chris Jones over Anton. There was an equal thought process from the people that I talked to that, no, we don't know. He's going to be all over the place. He's going to be here. He's going to be there. He's going to be all. So I'm assuming the coaching staff's thought process going into the game was, we have three interior linemen who are injured, who just had a rough game against DeForest Buckner. They're going to need help. We're going to have the running backs chipping inside to help those hobbled guys out. One who probably shouldn't have even been playing in Brandon Scherf, if we were going to keep it 100. And that's going into the game, and then the hopes is just, hey, walk a little, Anton. They can take care of themselves. Maybe they might win some, lose some, but it should be all right overall.
And in fairness, Walker Little did in fact come up big and took care of his side of the line for sure.
Right, but that's the thing that's killing me. There's no one's speaking about that when they're saying, hey, you should have given Anton help. We should have given Anton help, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, hey, what about those three inside guys who we knew going into the game were going to need help because they were already hobbled? No one thought that they were just going to leave Chris Jones on Anton the whole game, and they did it. That's a tip of the cap to the Chiefs, right? Like, come on.
Hey, no one else said it, but that's why we do the Duval dive, Travis Holmes, so we can tell the people the stuff they ain't getting talked about, baby. That's why we're here.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So, like, hey, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like, there's no right answer, because if you do that and you give Anton help, then they're going to put Chris Jones on the tackles, and you're going to have to figure that part out, because your chipping is not in reference to a person. Your chipping is to the position. I'm chipping to the outside. That's the play. That's the play dynamic. That's the way that the play is drawn up. It's not I'm chipping to a guy. That's generally not how they follow it. So that's a rough one for the coaching staff, and that's the lesson learned, I guess.
And let's please remember, right, the return of Chris Jones, we said was going to be a big deal. Something that I feel like a lot of people are forgetting in general: the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl matchup, Super Bowl 57. The two teams, by the way, that led the NFL in sacks, 1 and 2, respectively.
I mean,
the Chiefs may be known for Patrick Mahomes II, but that defense, pretty good.
Yeah, Chris Jones is Pat Mahomes of that defense.
I mean, I don't know that I don't know that he's the brains behind it. He, at the very least, he's the Travis Michael Kelce of the defense.
All right, we can go with that. We can go with that. That's fine. I mean, yeah, he's the engine, not necessarily the guy who's the brains. Who's the guy? I guess that's Spags.
There you go. Well, I usually give that to a DB, but I don't know that they have that.
I don't think they have one. Yeah.
Anymore. Yeah, like I think their previous safety moved on. I forget his name is. Anyways, whatever. But speaking of Travis Michael Kelce, you brought to my attention Rayshon Jenkins for all the talk about Andre Sisco in the game he had, and rightly so. Pulling in the interception that he did, adjusting to a coverage where the defensive back got beat and just making a hell of a play. I'm more impressed by the line, or rather the lack thereof, from Travis Michael Kelce. I get an email after the game. Oh, Travis Kelce receptions. He's 18 receptions away from Jerry Rice, which, to be honest, is pretty damn amazing. Let's be honest.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
But hyping up a 26-yard performance for Travis Michael Kelce. It's fun seeing emails like that come from the league. But we keep mentioning it. Let's go ahead and jump to the video here. Rayshon Jenkins. Now, you'll probably remember him, Jags fans, as the dude that knocked was the key to the turnover with the Cowboys last year, and also involved in the play with the Titans in the final week to secure the AFC championship over the Titans here. But Let's go to the video here. Just one play in particular where Travis Michael Kelce throughout the day was on lock, except for one key play where he got the touchdown, obviously here. And, watching what's going on here, Travis, just to see that coverage, any part of the field that Travis Michael Kelce went to, somebody was there waiting for him, it felt like, right? He breaks out, and then Jenkins comes down. I don't want to, and this is actually a better angle, the reverse angle. And this particular one, Jenkins just met him in that particular exchange, but I feel like wherever Travis Michael Kelce went, he had somebody there waiting for him, and it was key to keeping the Chiefs under 20 points. I don't think I'm making any new ground with that statement.
No, I mean, the only times that the Chiefs had even, a modicum of success with Kelce was when the Jaguars were in zone defense and it was more of a scramble drill situation, i.e. the touchdown when he kind of scrambled and was over, I believe it was Walker in coverage. And later in the game, he had another catch when it was Devin Lloyd in coverage, who actually I thought had a good game on his own. I mean, again, we're talking about a guy who had, 40 some odd yards overall, right? So this is not this huge game. We're really down to 1 and 2 catches here and there.
26, Travis. 26.
Oh, it's 26. I'm sorry. This is me going by memory. All right, even better.
4 from the 4 catches, homie.
That's what it is. Yeah. So because Lloyd even almost had an interception earlier in the game. You had Cisco with an almost interception on the sideline. Also, you had those guys were getting their hands on the ball, and they easily could have walked away with 3 to 4 interceptions in this game. I'm a DB. I am a fan of any great defensive play or in the secondary as far as coverage or even the linebackers. But yeah, that was the only time the Chiefs had any successes when there was more of a zone situation, and they essentially ran away from the Jaguar safeties. So try to get isolated on the defensive ends / outside linebackers.
Yeah, and overall, I don't feel like it was a bad game up front for the crew either. I mean, listen, you and I had a conversation, but I mentioned 2 weeks ago on the Student of the Game podcast, bing, with Wild Car Mar of IOW Sports, that Jawan Taylor and familiarity would be an issue. Also, there was a tweet issued, I think, by Adam Schefter and something statement by the league that they will be cracking down on the tricks of the trade that Jawan Taylor was trying to execute. 10 penalties on the day, at least 2 of them that I can think of that were good for first downs. Overall, not for first downs, but for long thirds where the Jags would get the ball off it, is what I'll say. I feel like Jawan Taylor had a rough day, but I don't feel like he gave up a lot of pressures per se. Maybe I don't know. He had a tough day with 10 penalties. I don't care who you are.
Well, when you say 10 penalties, no, Jawan had 4 penalties. Jawan.
I think the team.
The team had 10. Had the 10 overall. But the fun thing about this is Jawan was benched specifically because of the penalties that he kept getting, and especially in the crucial times that he kept getting them. It was second down, third down scenarios in which Kansas City just wasn't having it. But if you're talking about, to your point, pressures and sacks and things of that nature giving up, he led the league this week in pass rush win rate for an offensive tackles in the league. He was a 98%. He had a 98% win rate this week, Jawan Taylor. But it doesn't feel that way because 1, he got benched for a series, and 2, he gave up 4 penalties. 2 of them 15. Yeah, 2 of them were 15-yard penalties. Right. That 10-yard holdings, whatever. That's a rough game for any offensive line when you've given up whatever it is, 40 yards and penalties overall in a game and in dire situations.
And for all the trash we talk about Chris Jones making an impact. Listen, Patrick Lavon Mahomes II wasn't comfortable. Dude early in the game was so uncomfortable, he threw the ball to a damn tackle. You don't see that every day.
Well, and that's the weirdest part about it, is because everyone kept saying that in week 1, the Jaguars defensive line was doing a lot of quote unquote mush rush, where, you're not actually trying to make it home. You're trying to keep Richardson in the pocket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually didn't believe that they were purposefully doing that in week 1. When I looked at the film, I just thought they just weren't getting home. against Mahomes, they were purposefully doing it. And you can see multiple plays in which they could have easily beat the tackle to the outside, and instead they just stopped and stood it up just not to run past him. Like, you could see it on the film multiple downs. I say that because the Jaguars also had the worst. They're tied for the worst with the Saints pass rush win rate for a defensive line unit in the NFL this past week, but it was purposeful. And that's the reason that, the stats don't always tell the story, because you can see, hey, you're playing against someone like Mahomes. Awesome. Let's maybe this is the week that we actually don't try to get home, because we don't want to give him a run lane to, get out of that pocket and pick up a first down with.
Which he did a couple times, by the way.
And he still did, but
yeah.
It's Mahomes, man. The dude's a freaking magician.
So
there are just some plays that's going to happen. But I'm really interested in seeing what it's going to be like this week, because now we're finally, for the first time this season, in my personal opinion, playing against a team where they actually get the ball out on time pretty religiously. So you're not playing against some Holmes who, he gets the ball out early, but you're not playing against a rookie who holds the ball forever. You're not getting either end of the spectrum at this point. You're getting a rookie who's going to hit his 3-step drop. He's going to go through his progressions quickly, and he's going to get the ball out. How will your defensive front look now that you're playing a basic, average, run-of-the-mill offense who just is on time? On schedule.
This is what we call a segue. You see what this professional here, Travis Holmes, did? He said, we're done talking about the Chiefs, Mr. Host, man. Let's talk about the Texans coming to town. And I don't blame you, because here, listen, I don't think, first of all, whatever happens in this Houston Texans game here in Duval, we're going to throw the tape away when it comes to the next Texans game. They are missing so many pieces. I think the big one that jumps off the page is Stingley. As part of a defensive unit in the secondary. That's pretty strong. And oh, by the way, this Will Anderson kid, pretty good. The CJ Stroud kid has been trending pretty nice. I don't think he's going to get Rookie of the Year, but I think he is showing signs of a dude that can build into being a pretty reliable passer in the NFL, with the football is what I should say. Just a lot of good stuff going on there. By the way, in light of that, Shaquille Griffin likely reuniting with his former team, facing them in the corner spot. A whole lot of stuff. Travis is doing a dance. What
reunited, and it feels so good. Yeah, I bet Jaguar fans have never been so excited to see Shaq Griffin's name. Oh, yeah, this is the week for it, because you're playing against a team that historically runs that same Seattle cover 3, which means, and we saw how he struggled against that. How Shaq last time we saw him struggled running that coverage. Oh, I'm ecstatic to see what this is going to look like. You have a Calvin Ridley versus a Shaq Griffin opportunity on multiple times throughout this game. Yeah. Oh, this should be great.
And moreover, you have a defensive pass rush for the Jags that's facing a pretty beat up offensive line from the Texans themselves. This
is that bounce back opportunity. This is the game that you want to see. But again, I to your point, I'm really impressed by CJ Stroud. I watched every single snap that he's played in his first 2 games, and kind of what I was saying earlier, the dude, he gets through his progressions. He's accurate. He doesn't take unnecessary sacks normally, unless you're like later in the game when it's just kind of like, hey, YOLO time. I got to take the team on my back, figure it out. And then he starts doing some wonky stuff when you start getting into those blowout situations. But if the Jaguars cannot let Houston keep this game close, because he is a guy who, again, stays on schedule. He will move the ball, and he will allow them those fighting opportunities, especially with that Texans defense. So we got to find a way to get home, hopefully quickly. And that goes back to our original conversation earlier, as far as I want to see them beat a lineman quickly, because this is a team who they hit their progressions pretty, on time, on schedule. So it should be interesting.
I would also expect that the coverage kind of eats breakfast instead of supper here, right? Meaning they get into the bottom in the early part of the route and the play development, rather than later in the progression in that particular piece.
Mike Caldwell, this is a fun one, because he's historically a guy who's going to just sit back in the first half of most games. And we've seen it so often, especially if you're going back into last year. Well, we will sit back early in the game, kind of figure out what other teams are going to do. And then in the second half, that's when we're going to start blitzing. That's when we're going to start playing a lot tighter. That's when we're going to start.
I'm not asking for blitzing necessarily. Yeah. And in fairness, when you're facing a Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, I could see that strategy. But Travis, they were pretty aggressive, or at least they were winning enough up front to seem aggressive. Again, that first drive, Patrick LaVon Mahomes II is throwing to his tackle. So either the defensive front did that well, or they're calling for more aggressive stuff from Caldwell. I don't think either's a losing proposition. And by the way, listen, I'm no defensive guru. I never coached defense like you did. But in my opinion, attacking a rookie quarterback is not a bad plan if you have guys that can get there, as both Josh Allen, and to his credit, for all the criticism that he took from people on this panel that aren't me, they're attacking up front pretty well with both Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair.
Yours for him. I'm gonna get mine for Tank Bigsby. It's okay.
That's also true. Yes, but no. I mean, when you're going up against a wide receiver core, that's not. I don't want, because they're NFL talent, yes, but they are obviously not, a top NFL wide receiver crew. I probably wouldn't say this is even an average one. Okay. Right, like you got Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz at tight end. You don't have very many guys who are going to run by you.
You don't have a number one receiver, clearly. They certainly don't have Calvin Ridley. They don't even have a Christian Kirk, I would argue.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, but they don't have So there are a lot of good possession receivers. And again, that's why they're really good about being on time. That intermittent time, intermittent range, where that 10, 15 yard range, they're good at sitting it down in that zone and trying to get those, stop routes, curl routes, digs, etc. But what they aren't good at, they're not going to run by you. So this is a game where, you have a Campbell, you have a Trey Herndon, etc. I hope that they're not giving these guys much respect and that they're in their back pocket, and maybe they may make this rookie make a mistake here and there.
I mean, that's the hopeful part. Stopping the run, obviously going to be a big deal with the Texans too. I feel like that's how they got most of their success last year, when they ruined Tony Baselli's halftime ceremony, getting inducted into the Ring of Honor.
But that's my concern this week. Again, if you allow Texans to make this thing turn, if they want this game to be a punch in the mouth, back and forth scenario, like they want it to be a close game, do not allow them to have this still being a close game going into the second half, or there will be some concern, rightfully, in Duval. Like we had to get those money downs right, those red zone scenarios, those third down scenarios, because we just haven't seen our offense perform in those situations up to the standard that we set, or the standard that they set for themselves.
So, and let's wrap it up on this. Obviously, a win is a win either way, but a win that you walk away from happy, other than turnovers. What is the stat you expect to see on offense and defense? For example, if the Jags secure 300 yards with Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have won this game in a way that I'm very impressed with the offense. Defensively, if they hold the Texans to 80 yards or less rushing, I'll feel good about that up front. What are stats for offense and defense that you'd like to see in a Jaguar win here that'll make you feel good?
Oh, so the defense I'm feeling good about no matter what. But that pass rush is a big thing for me, because again, that was going into this week. That was literally my thought process. I even said it on Tuesday to a few other Big Cat Country writers, that I'm curious on what our pass rush is really going to look like, because it was my issue coming into the season. It's my issue going out of the season. And I'm not talking about sacks. I'm talking about legitimate pressures, pressures, deserved pressures. So I'm talking realistically 5 per each defensive end. So I'm talking Trayvon Walker, I'm talking Josh Allen. So I'm talking 10 pressures combined between the two of those guys.
So 10 pressures is a stat that you walk away with happy.
That's something that I'm very interested in seeing, because again, I'm not someone who's just gauging the film. I'm watching these games multiple times. I'm looking at only this guy. I want to see what you did today. And that's going to let me know how I can extrapolate this throughout the rest of the season. How can you perform against these top tier teams? As far as offense is concerned, I mean, they got to put it together. So I'm going to mainly look at those third down scenarios. Are we more than 50% in third down situations? Are we more than 50% in our red zone situations to score? Not field goals, touchdowns. and if we're doing that, we're going to score 30 plus points in this game. So that's my expectation, and that's my hope for this offense to be successful this week.
For my money, it's less third down than it is the red zone, right? Because this offense, the way it's built and as high powered as it can be when it's rolling, is to not even need third down to get first downs in a lot of cases, right? You find those chunk plays to Ridley, Kirk, Jones, Ingram, or get some nice running action from Etienne and company in the backfield there. Certainly not have Jamal Agnew style disasters. I shouldn't put that on Agnew, by the way, but that whole fumble handed right back to the damn Chiefs thing was crazy. Even though they got the pick shortly after that to kind of balance the whole kerfluffle out. Good excuse to use the word kerfluffle there, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good use.
I feel like the red zone is the big stat there. You cannot go 0 for 4 and then walk away from 3. You cannot go for 0 for 7 and then walk away with 6.
But it's funny because going into the game, everyone said that red zone was our strength because we were just 3 for 3 against Indianapolis in the red zone.
You didn't hear us say that, for the record.
Right, but everyone else, that was the strength of the offense. And now we're like, oh, we got to be better in the red zone. And I'm like, yeah, we got to be better at third down too. Because for me, they go hand in hand. It's every once in a while you're going to struggle in the red zone, but if you're doing well in your third down scenarios, eventually you're going to hit one of those chunk plays where it may balance out. Or at other games, you're going to struggle in those third down scenarios, but you're still going to do well in the red zone, and it's still going to either one of those situations. You're probably going to score 27 to 30 points in most games.
And listen, I'm with you. If the number of third downs they actually face reaches double digits, that's when I think your third down stat kicks in. And I think, making at least 5 of them is something you'd want to see from this offense. That'll make you feel better about where it's going. Travis Holmes, that'll wrap up another edition of the Duval Dive. Let's go ahead and dry off here from all the awesome. Tell the world where you can be found, brother.
Hey, man, I can be found on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Threads, etc. Pretty much everything but TikTok. I'm sorry, I don't want them to get in my information just yet. I'm struggling. I'm trying not to get on it just yet, but give me time. You can find me on my writings on BigCatCountry.com. We will have the staff's picks for this week as far as things to look out for, and also our predictions for the game. You can, find me here every Friday morning, talking about the last week's game and also previewing this upcoming one that we have coming up. And you can also find me on every Tuesday on Inside the Pigskin for the South Florida Tribune.
By the way, I don't think I got an actual score from you, buddy.
Oh, you didn't? I'm going with the Jaguars 27, Houston 13.
Oh, okay. I'm in a similar ilk myself. I'm going to go 24. I think the Texans will. I'll say 13 as well. I'm not as I don't. I'm not saying it's 3 points. I guess we're different, but
yeah.
I don't see them lining it up and all that other stuff. But yeah, of course, you reminded me. I got to turn in my staff pick portion for the Jaguar report here. And not too long. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with the Jaguar Report of SI, the 3-point conversion, covering the Jaguars, of course, and also covering the UCF Knights with the black and gold banneret. It's unfortunate I was under the weather this week. I would have loved to have written a piece about the Jags facing Shaquille Griffin. Then I could have, done something for both audiences. But unfortunately, I was sick. Those who might have noticed I was not on the Huddle Up podcast, nor did I do Student of the Game this week. Listen, I'm human. You can hear my voice is just now coming back. So I'll be back and running with that. Look out for the Student of the Game next week, 8:40 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesday, and of course, this wonderful show. If you're not catching the stream, you're catching it on Spotify or whatever podcast you're enjoying with the Student of the Game. You'll check out this show at 11. Also streaming through the Huddle Up podcast YouTube channel, the Sertoba Media YouTube channel, where the struggle is real to be awesome. The A7BM Sports Facebook, as well as the Student of the Game Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch accounts. So that's all the different ways you can consume this absolute good time. Travis, Honor, joy, and privilege, man. I know we did a few extra minutes, but like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of content this week, so I thought 5 more minutes for the people was a worthwhile endeavor. What can I say?
For the people.
For the people. Because without them, it's just a lot less fun. It's just the two. I mean, it's just the two of us chatting at that point. I mean, at that point, might as well make it a play date. I'm just saying.
Hey, man, I'm here for it. It's still entertaining. Let's go.
Oh, man. An honor, joy, and privilege, folks. Last game before the Jags head across the pond so you can have breakfast with your NFL offering in the next 2 weeks.
Tea and crumpets. Let's go. Let's do it.
Hey, listen, English style breakfast is amazing. I still don't understand how you do baked beans for breakfast, but it works. Whatever.
I'm gonna get ready for that, brother.
Hey, Harp and Kelp, we got to do that sometime. Of course, they show a lot more football than they do football, but we'll handle that off air, brother. So yeah, with that in mind, for Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country, I am Kyle Nash, a student of the game, and until next time, my friends, class